Bitcoin is close to becoming worthless.
Let's go. Now, what's the Bitcoin?
Bitcoin's like rat poison.
Yeah. Oh,
The greatest scam in history.
let's get it.
Bitcoin will go to fucking zero.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Bitcoin Monthly, the show where we've been covering the news in Bitcoin and other freedom-focused open source technologies. Our focus has been letting our listeners know what tools are available, how to use them, and making sure that they can operate in a safe and private way. We've been doing this now for 39 months, and I'm afraid to say this will be our last Bitcoin Monthly. We got very close to 40 months, but changes have had to be made. And we just want to say a huge thank you to everybody who has listened to this show. Everyone who has supported us on Fountain, sent in questions, boosts, and interacted with us over the years. We really have appreciated it. I'd also like to say a huge thank you to Foundation Devices. They have made this all possible. They make the best hardware in the Bitcoin world. Not only is it beautifully designed and open source, but it's incredibly simple to use. It's also now possible to have Bitcoin Q&A hold your hand through the process of setting up either single SIG or multi-SIG. You can buy a package where you'll get 3 devices and he will hold your hand through the entire process with email support should you need it after setting it up. We cover this in the show, but I really do think this is an incredible offer. If you haven't already checked them out, go to foundationdevices.xyz and use the code ungovernable for a discount. Enjoy the show. Hey mate, how you doing?
Doing well, mate. Doing pretty well. I can't believe it's been another month since we last recorded, but yeah, a lot going on. Big long lists. Just got back from a nice week-long family holiday, so feeling fairly refreshed and ready to attack all of my work notifications.
I bet there are quite a few.
I've had a quick look this morning, and as you know, I'm an early bird, so I've ticked off a fair chunk of them already, just to lessen the load a little bit. So feeling a bit less daunted by the task of coming back to work. You know what it's like.
How's the tan? You still pasty?
Always pasty. I could spend a month out there and still come back pasty. I did the typical Brit thing of burning on the first day, so Then I had to basically just hide from the sun for the rest of the week.
That's always a good look.
Yeah, t-shirt in the pool kind of vibes.
and it clings to you as you get out.
Yeah,
You look really specialist. Yeah,
that's right.
I know exactly what you're talking about, mate.
What about you, mate? What's new with you?
No travels particularly, but big changes for the podcast and for my general life.
You're not coming out the closet, are you?
I did that years ago, mate. No, I've finally made the jump. I'm not sure if this was wise or not, but I've made the jump to leave my fiat work, go full-time with the podcast and Ungovernable Misfits, extend the amount of shows we're going to do. I've got the nod from the rest of the family. I've got not a massive runway, but a little bit of runway. Used my Bitcoin, which we talk about a lot. It's not just to have sat there and hodl for the rest of your life and, pass on to your children. It just got to a point where I literally didn't see the kids. I was working Monday to Sunday and just all the time was fiat. And then as soon as I finished fiat, it was trying to jump into recording shows and editing. And it just got to a point where it was too much. My brain stopped functioning, as you know. I just couldn't think properly anymore. And so it was like, go into a proper career again, earn some proper money again, and do probably the the wise and smart thing, or try and build ungovernable misfits, do the thing I care about, take a bit of a jump, sell the Bitcoin I had, and use it to try and create a better life. So I've gone with that option. Let's see if it was a bad decision or if it was wise.
Well, on a personal note, obviously I'm privy to the DMs in the background when you're tearing your hair out and not seeing the family and stuff. So I'm very happy that you've made this decision. And of course, it's a leap of faith, and nobody wants to sell a significant portion of their Bitcoin. But I feel like this is what the podcast or the brand needed, is your entire focus to be able to take it to the next level, because there's already murmurings that people are starting to recognize the work that you and the guys are putting in terms of the quality of the shows, quality of the editing, the quality of the show notes, GIFs, etc. And obviously that takes a shit ton of time. And when you're trying to juggle that with family, friends, and a fiat job, something's got to give eventually, hasn't it? So I am feeling very positive about the future of Ungovernable Misfits with you full time at the helm. So if you're listening to this and you appreciate what Max and the team do, this is your opportunity to show your support and make sure that Max is making the right decision, and that this thing, we're able to collectively take this to the next level. We can put all the work in, but ultimately we need help from the listener base to share the show, boost the show, and not just this one, all of the shows that fall under the Ungovernable Misfits umbrella.
Yeah, it was a weird experience actually, because about 8 months ago, something like that, life got really, really tough. I was sat at the dinner table with my missus like, I think I'm just going to have to stop the show. I can't actually physically do this anymore. And then because of the help from Jordan and Crown and you and John, just putting in like massive amounts of work constantly, I was like, okay, I'm gonna keep going with it. And then I started to feel bad, because it was like Jordan would do so much work on all the show notes and Crown with the art and all this stuff, and then they'd be sending me messages like, look at what we've done. They'd like put all this work in. What do you think? And I'm like, oh, I'm just taking a shit. I've got 2 seconds. I'll just quickly read through it. Like that was the only time that I would speak to them. Or I'd be in a van clunking around. I'm like on my shitty headphones trying to have a conversation with them. It's fucking annoying for them. And I just thought, no, this can't fly. So we've got a pretty fucking incredible team. So I'm very excited. And weirdly, as soon as I made the decision and left, we had something really strange happen. Someone I would never think would be a listener, probably the last person on earth that I would think would be a listener, has actually decided to help push this thing along. So for people who haven't listened to this already, I've just made a little clip, but go back to the last episode and have a listen. Charlie Munger, of all people, hacked our feed.
Wait, what?
We're still...
He
Have you not
hacked us?
heard this?
No.
You not listened to the last episode?
No.
Okay, well, I'll play a clip from it. I'm not going to play the whole thing. People need to go back and listen. But hacked our feed. Turns out he's a big fan and is funding the show. But I'll play a little bit now.
I want to thank Bitcoin Q&A and Max Bit by Bit for giving me hours of audio to listen to about how Bitcoin works and the tools available to users who care about freedom and privacy. It has been refreshing to learn about the open source tools that matter rather than listen to hours of useless price predictions and hearing the excitement in other podcasters' voices cheering on politicians and bankers. I have set up a Foundation Devices passport, and I'm using Sparrow Wallet to construct and send my first transaction. I will be sending it to your Payneum Max so you too can afford to start recording bi-weekly shows rather than the Bitcoin Monthly. I simply can't wait a whole month between shows. I need more of your news, software updates, and unbiased reporting that I can't seem to find anywhere else.
Whoa. There's a lot to unpack there.
I know.
First off, thank you, Charlie. I don't know how you hacked the feed from beyond the grave. That's quite a skill.
Incredible.
Secondly, thank you for your support. Thirdly, I can't be the only one that thinks that sounds just like SeedSigner.
Really?
Yeah, if you listen to it back and then listen to a SeedSigner podcast, you won't be able to unhear it.
Oh.
Yeah.
The plot thickens.
I hope it's not just me.
Well, whether it is the real Charlie or Ghost of Charlie or SeedSigner pretending to be Charlie, whoever it is, we appreciate the support. And me and Q have been talking for, I don't know, years about trying to do more episodes, and it always just has come down to time and money. So this support is very, very much appreciated. The only thing I'll say, whoever you are, my guess is this really is Ghost of Charlie, because I think they've got Sats and Bitcoin confused slightly.
That does sound like a boomer type thing to do.
Do you know what I mean? Quite boomery and quite like billionaire-y to be, you know, a bit like, oh, can you go and get some milk? Oh, how much do I need? I don't know, a couple of £100 or something. They just like totally don't understand where the decimal place might be.
Yeah.
They're very detached from reality. So unfortunately, this one hasn't gone our way. I think they've confused Sats with Bitcoin. We really appreciate it, mate. And I think he's going to continue to listen. I think he's going to continue to ask questions. He definitely seems to care. The fact he set up a passport and using Sparrow is great to hear.
Great choice. Yeah.
But anyway, go back and have a listen to that message. I can't delete it. I don't know how he's got it on there. I don't know if we'll hear from him again. It sounds like he's going to maybe support the show more. Regardless, we're going to start doing more shows, which I'm very excited about.
So Max has quit his Fiat job. Charlie Munger's on board. He said we're moving to 2 recordings per month. Is that right?
I think that's where we need to start, yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so that leaves us with one final conundrum to spell out.
Mm-hmm.
We're currently called Bitcoin Monthly, and we're on the Uncomfortable Misfits podcast feed. How about Bitcoin? Oh, okay, answer me a question. Bi-weekly, what does that mean to you? Is it every other week or is it twice a week?
I would say every other week.
See, I think it's the other one. I think it's twice per week.
Twice weekly?
Yes, which obviously we're not quite there yet, unfortunately. I'd love to have enough time to do that.
Yeah, not quite.
Bitcoin fortnightly sounds like terrible.
Sounds shit, yeah.
Yeah. Bitcoin twice monthly, also
That's
awful.
even worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about, is Bitcoin buy?
I feel like that might offend the woke crowd.
What about the Bitcoin brief?
Ooh, alliteration. I like it.
That sounds quite nice.
Yeah, let's stick with that. The Bitcoin brief by Ungovernable Misfits.
I think that's quite nice, actually.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't tie us down. Because if we do like a bi-weekly, if this goes well and people want more and we go eventually to a weekly show, then it would still work.
That's right. We don't need to rebrand again.
Good. I like that.
Let us know in the comments what you think of the new name. We aren't going to change it, even if you don't like it. But if you don't like it, do let us know.
Unless Munger gets his purse out, big style.
We might
consider it.
Yeah, we will consider changing the name of the show for a boost of 10 million sats.
Yeah, we do.
Think that's
10
fair?
million sats. I think that's probably fair.
We're so cheap.
I know. You got to get what you can, mate.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You know, the show's going to be called Q&A and Max are fucking retards.
There's going to be a crowdfund exercise to whip up some money. But hey, you know, if that allows, you know, it funds your living while you're doing this full time and taking the show to the next level, then I'm happy for the show to be called Max and QR Retards by Ungovernable Misfits.
Me too. It's very descriptive.
Probably wouldn't do much for us in the podcast charts, though. I'm sure there'll be some censorship on the word retard.
I'd imagine so.
So yeah, exciting times. Very, very happy. Like you alluded to, this has been a long time coming. You know, we've had to line up quite a few ducks to get this over the line to move us to bi-weekly. I've done it. Why have I just fallen into my own trap?
Yeah.
Fortnightly. There you go. See,
Fortnightly.
The English language is just terrible. We're moving to twice per month shows. I'm very excited. It does mean that the shows will probably be shorter in length because they're more frequent. Obviously, we've got less to cover in each one. This one being an exception because it's been a month since the last monthly show, so there is a lot of stuff to cover. But the next one will be in 2 weeks' time, and there will be a short list. Don't want to lose the focus on listener involvement either. So feel free to comment on any of our shows, send us a boost and ask us a question on any, of the topics that we cover or any suggested topics.
And not just Bitcoin is the other thing, because it's called the Bitcoin Brief, unless someone sends us 10 million sats to call it retards, it's still going to be freedom focused.
Indeed, yeah. So I'm still going to be shilling Noster. I'm still going to be trying to get Max on board with Noster. We're still going to be talking about people getting arrested for running messengers and things like that. More on that later. Anything that's kind of freedom tech aligned in and around the Bitcoin ecosystem. It's not just a Bitcoin only show, so to speak.
Definitely. You're always jet setting. I've seen lots of talk about all the conferences that I don't go to. Nashville, Riga's just gone. I assume you're at both of them and probably more.
Was not a Riga. I have only just got back from my family holiday, so there was a clash there, which I was very sad about because Riga is my favourite conference of the year. So I do have massive amounts of FOMO. Literally just happened this weekend, just gone. So massive amounts of FOMO. Haven't watched any of the talks back, so I'll be looking forward to queuing up some of the audio versions of those for my daily dog walks. But yes, I was in Nashville, my first time in Tennessee. Very, very eye-opening experience. Like, the conference was huge. I think there was, don't quote me on this, almost 20,000 people in attendance.
Whoa.
Was there obviously in a work capacity. Foundation had a booth there, pretty large one, and we had a good portion of the team there. I think we had about 12 of us there. So really, really good to, obviously the highlight for me was to be able to kick it with the team in person, go out for dinner and drinks and stuff, and because we don't get to meet in person very often. Work in the booth was awesome. Very, very hard work. That's the first time I've done a conference of that size. And you wouldn't think that standing around talking to people about shit that you like and that you love can be so exhausting, but long days on your feet, just talking to people, showcasing devices, showcasing the Envoy app, and answering questions, giving demonstrations and stuff. Really good fun and invaluable from the kind of customer experience perspective, which is kind of my remit within the company, to see how people interact with the device, in person, to see the reactions that they have and the questions that they ask. So absolutely invaluable in terms of like being able to hone our products and stuff. Good fun to also meet internet friends. Also did a talk on Multi-SIg with D from CoinKite and SeedSigner from SeedSigner. Was a very good talk, actually. I really enjoyed doing that one. Got to wear my Q&A mask, so keep an eye out for that video as and when it drops. I haven't seen it yet, but I will share it, and I'm sure we can put it in the show notes as and when it does make its way to the surface.
Yeah, I haven't seen the video, obviously, but that photo, I don't want to fuck with you anymore, mate.
I had a couple of DMs about this.
What are you training for that your legs are so fucking hench? I've never seen anything like it.
So there's a couple of contributing factors to that. And maybe, Jordan, if you could put this photo into the show notes so people know what the hell we're talking about. Number one, I have very, 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 very skinny ankles. So any muscle that's over, above the ankle looks, like when you get short guys that are, a little bit wide, then they look much wider because they're really short.
Yeah.
My legs are like a version of that, essentially.
Okay.
And also I like riding bikes. Like, I do it every opportunity I get. So I guess just the amount of time spent in the saddle has given me some...
Like a fucking racehorse. Next time Windsor's on, I'm just going to put my money on Q.
I'm not an endurance athlete, so make sure it's a sprint.
So it was good then. You got to wear your mask. You got to meet lots of people. Was it sort of what I would expect in terms of lots of face scanning, lots of kind of doxiness that people should be worried about, or was that kind of overblown?
I didn't see any face scanners. I heard a couple of reports of them, but I didn't see them, so maybe they were well hidden. But the security was out of this world, especially on the Sunday when Trump was doing his talk. Like the whole conference hall, the exhibition hall, just turned into a complete ghost town. Maybe up to like an hour before he came on. Everybody just piled into the main kind of auditorium area to kind of try and watch him, do his usual spiel, which obviously is not up my street, but, it gave us an hour off to sit down and chill out for a little bit, which was nice. But yeah, there's Secret Service everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
People walking around with guns. Well, we're in Tennessee. There's loads of people walking around with guns, but you know what I mean. To get anywhere near the backstage area, the kind of exhibitors area, you're going through airport style security, empty out your pockets, go through metal detectors, get a pat down. It was pretty hefty. And then eventually they just stopped letting people into the main auditorium because it was over capacity, which I don't really know how I feel about it, to be honest with you. At a Bitcoin conference, people queuing for hours and hours and hours. Like, as soon as the conference doors opened on the Sunday, our booth was near the queue for the main auditorium. People running through the main entrance doors to join the queue to get in for the Trump talk at 8 a.m. for the Trump talk, which was due to start at 2 p.m.
Wow.
Pretty wild. Yeah.
Well, what's the thing? Bitcoin is for
anyone, but it's not for everyone.
Not for everyone. So you're going to get all sorts.
Indeed. Yeah, especially when you've got a catchment of 20,000 people, like, you're going to get people who don't align with us and how we see Bitcoin, which is absolutely fine. It's not for me to tell people how to view or use Bitcoin. It's just, not my bag. Final bit of AOB news for me, one for the hardware nerds. Recently got my hands on a Framework laptop.
Ooh.
Thanks to Mr. Seth for Privacy, who, for those of you who didn't know, has left Foundation on good terms. We're still friends. Hasn't been sacked or anything. He's just taken a new role over with the guys at CakeWallet, which I'm sure we'll all agree is a great fit for him, and I wish him all the best of luck over there.
Yeah, definitely.
But the good side is it does mean I get his cast offs. So he shipped me his old work laptop, which is a bit of a powerhouse Framework, 16-inch Framework laptop. For those of you that don't know about Framework, it's kind of like a modular laptop that's able to be easily upgraded. You can swap all the parts. It's designed to be taken apart and, swap out broken bits and customize it yourself. Very impressed so far. This is the first day I'm kind of back at HQ properly. So I've literally just set it up and installed the hard drive yesterday. But very impressed so far. Got some good specs on it, and looking forward to putting it through its paces as I catch up with the work stuff over the coming weeks.
Is it nice quality feel, and does the trackpad actually work on it? Because I find with most of these things, it's like the idea is really cool, and then the execution, if you go from something like a MacBook, you're like, what is this piece of shit in my hand? Is it still shit to feel and touch and use? Or is it actually good?
No, it's the quality's great.
Oh, really?
The design is similar to Apple. Okay. Obviously, I've got the 16-inch one, and it's got the GPU module on the back, so it's a hefty old beast. It's put it this way, it's going to be my desktop computer. Like, I'm not taking this to a coffee shop to work because it's fucking massive and it's heavy. But the reason I got it off Seth was because I needed something more powerful to do like video editing and stuff. And obviously, this has got like a standalone GPU. So it's just going to chew through it. Trackpad works great, although, it's going to sit closed on my desk for all of eternity, and I'm just going to use a wireless mouse. So, well, the quality's great. Definitely better than Star Labs, I would say.
That's not fucking hard.
The highlight for me, I'd say, is the ports. You've got 6 ports, 3 on either side. You can basically take the ports out and swap and change them. So in these 6 holes, you can have any combination of HDMI, microSD, USB-C, USB-A, audio input, display input, output, and you can just pull them out in like 1 second and swap them and move them around and change them as you see fit. So you could have like 15 of these different USB ports and just change them as you see fit, basically.
Well, that's quite cool. I'm just looking at it now, actually. It looks all right.
They do a smaller one, which would be more sort of portable friendly. I think it's a 14-inch. Yeah, very good. I'm impressed so far. And to change the hard drive, like I've probably fitted maybe one other hard drive into a laptop before. To do it on this took me like less than 10 minutes.
Okay, very nice.
Right, we better get started with the list. We're half an hour in and we've barely touched anything. We're going to start with the news, then we'll hit the boosts, and then we'll go to updates and releases, if that's good with you, mate.
Good with me.
All right, so talking point for all of Bitcoin Twitter, essentially for the past month or so, is this new, I say new, slightly new, dark Skippy disclosure where there's a video of somebody using a SeedSigner to sign a couple of transactions and unknowingly to the user leak the secret or the private keys from the device. Now, I know that you're having Zach on later this week to cover this in great depth, so I'm going to keep this very high level. But the TLDR here is that if somebody is able to install some malicious firmware onto your hardware wallet and then sign some transactions, I think they can do it in a minimum of 2 transactions. Your seed words are essentially, or your private keys are essentially posted within those 2 transactions onto the blockchain, so that whoever's watching the transactions that take place from your compromised device can then just pop your seed words in to any other device and maybe extract all the funds straight away, or maybe they'll sit on them and wait for you to deposit your life savings and then empty it all out. There's been a lot of uproar and a lot of like panicked questions around this. The thing I want to hammer home is that it needs your device to be physically compromised and have malicious firmware running on it to be in with the chance of this being successful. Now, for any hardware wallet that has a secure element, that is no mean feat, because all of them, to my knowledge, Passport included, operate on like a secure boot thing where they'll check the firmware signatures every time you turn it on.
So if someone's tampered, it will know this is not actually the firmware that
Yeah, most of them won't even start. It will just say, this device is running malicious firmware, or it's firmware that's not signed by Foundation or CoinKite or Bitbox, and it won't even start. It's nowhere near as easy as like it's basically an impossible thing to do for a device with a hardware wallet, with a secure element, because they all require signed firmware. So the person who's trying to compromise your device would also need to compromise the signing keys of CoinKite, of Foundation, of Bitbox. So, and that makes it exponentially harder, because, you've then got to go to wherever the hardware wallet manufacturer signing keys are, compromise them, then get physical access to the user's hardware wallet, which again negates that you're probably going to have to break into the house. Like, it's a very, 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 very difficult attack to pull off. So it's not something that you should be overly worried about, but it's good to have, acknowledgement of it at least.
Just a question on that, or 2 actually. If it was pulled off, you then send a transaction or 2. So they've got to wait for you to send a transaction or 2.
Yeah.
They're then looking at those transactions because they've embedded the data of your seed words split across 2 transactions or whatever, which they'll then use to sweep. Does that not mean that someone else could run software that's constantly sweeping for these seed words, so that even if the attacker was to do it, they might not be the one who actually benefits from it? Or is that something that would be too intensive for somebody to be scanning?
I don't know the details of. I think you'd need to know how, because it's not like in these 2 transactions, it's not going to be like 6 plain text seed words per transaction, so you can literally just look at the transaction and get the seed words. They'll be encoded in a certain way based on how the attack has been applied. So I think you would need to know how the seed is going to be exfiltrated to know how to then reconstitute it and convert it into seed words, because it'll just come out as gobbledygook.
Makes sense. And then, so the second question is, we're saying if a hardware device has a secure element, it is going to verify that the signatures are correct before it even turns on. Does that mean if somebody is updating their firmware on their hardware wallet, that they don't technically really need to do the verification and check the signatures themselves, even though that's what would be suggested, because actually they can rely on the device? Or would you still do that because it's belt and braces in case somehow, I don't know how, that secure element wasn't working correctly?
Yeah, always belt and braces to check it yourself as well, just in case for whatever reason, like you say, that device isn't working as intended. But yeah, these devices are built with fail safes in them that, in the Foundation case, as soon as you boot it up, it checks for 2 signatures of from a possible 4 keys that our founders hold before it will then go into boot the rest of the firmware up. And I'm sure all of the other manufacturers operate on something similar than that. But in terms of doing it yourself before you try to install it onto the device, like you're moving the risk before you're even touching the device, if that makes sense. So if you check a signature when you download it, like, and it fails or the hashes don't match or something like that, that's your early red warning flag before it even touches the device. So it's still an increase in kind of or added protection for you.
Makes sense.
Okie dokie, next on the list. Funny this one, because we were joking about this on the last monthly show, the final monthly show, should we say. last time we recorded, but a BitAxe has mined a block.
Yeah.
It wasn't mine, sadly, but yeah, a solo miner with only 3 terahash, which is probably like maybe 4 or 5 BitAxes, has overcome the odds and earned themselves a little over 3 Bitcoin.
Amazing.
Just for running this tiny little low power Bitcoin miner. I have heard a couple of podcasts talking about this, and it was expected eventually. Like you can work out the probability. You've got a rough idea of how many BitAxes are out there in the wild, how much hash rate that roughly equates to, and then how long that will take before probability says they should mine a block. And I think most of the odds were saying it should have happened for a long time, but mining doesn't know. It's not linear. Shit happens. And the law of averages eventually over a long enough time period kind of averages things out. But so this was a shock to the entire ecosystem, but a big tick in the box and kind of a bit more validation to say that this isn't completely a fruitless task.
Yeah.
Yes, the odds are that most BitAxe runners will never ever find a block, but just as with all lotteries, somebody's got to win it eventually.
I think I saw, I don't know if this is correct, John will probably slap me for this, but I'm pretty sure I saw if you had 1 million BitAxes, you would find a block every 4 days.
You're right. I've heard that as well.
So that's not bad odds when you think about it in comparison to a lottery. After that happened, Altair, which is a sponsor of the show I do with John, we were speaking to them and they were saying we are absolutely rushed off our feet selling these things because I think a lot of people just went, fuck, it's happened to someone, it can happen to me. Yeah. So they're absolutely flying off the shelves. They kindly sent me a couple out as well, which obviously knowing me, I haven't set them up properly yet, but I am going to. And what we've decided to do is we're going to do like a family mood board thing. So I'm going to put the BitAxes running in a frame, and then like we've got a couple of things that we'd really like to do. Like, for example, we really, really would love to go on a safari. So we're going to put those little pictures on there and try and bring in some luck while we're running them. And then if we do find a block, we can go and do that and all the other things that we'd love to do and couldn't otherwise afford, which is kind of fun. Like, it's just fun to watch it. It's better than doing the lottery. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to your reports of how easy it was to set up because it is very easy. Block. Which model have you got? Do you know?
He sent me 2 BitAxe. Is it Ultra or Supra that's the more powerful one? I can't remember which one.
The Supra is the more powerful one.
He sent me 2 Supras.
Very cool.
Yeah, very excited to get those running. It's on my list.
The never-ending list.
Yeah.
Okay, back to the list. The Telegram CEO, Pavel Durov, fairly base guy, Russian, who's quite consistently told a lot of governments to go fuck themselves. He's been arrested in France and has been held under investigation for the usual bullshit claims that they throw at people of facilitating fraudulent transactions, drug trafficking, CP, etc., etc. Basically because, he runs or is responsible for running the Telegram servers and won't give them backdoor access or won't start censoring people based on a specific government's wants or needs, essentially. So the French have picked him up and are holding him and are throwing a load of bullshit charges at him and just seeing what sticks. Very analogous to the Bitcoin Fog case, the Samurai case. It's the usual playbook and very, very sad to see. And, I hope it all works out okay for him because, especially for me, Telegram's been a big part of my life. The app is still running. There's no problem there. But, it's not nice to see somebody who's, somewhat aligned to freedoms and free speech, etc., being held or locked in a cage just because he doesn't play by the government playbook.
Yeah, not nice, but not shocking either. I did see something because everyone was saying, why did he land in France when he knew this could be a problem? And I don't know if this is true or not, but someone was reporting he had a female companion with him on his private jet, which you can do as a Russian billionaire. That's probably how you live your life. And apparently she was so fucking annoying that he said, no, we have to actually land and she needs to get off. Apparently that's why he landed. and she's some crypto shill influencer, which I can imagine would be quite annoying. So
Definitely.
that's the reason, apparently.
He's learnt a valuable lesson there. Next time, Durov, use a parachute. But in all seriousness, like, not nice when, you know, somebody like that is locked in a cage. So I hope that works out, and obviously we'll stay close to that one.
We will. Just before we move on from that, what does that mean in terms of use of Telegram? I mean, I know it's not encrypted by default. I know all this stuff. Like, I assume anything I write on there is read and accessible is my assumption, regardless of his arrest. But
yeah,
I would think that his arrest probably pushes that a little bit more in terms of like, look, if you want to ever get out of this cage, then you fucking give us access to all the messages if you haven't already.
Mm-hmm.
What are you thinking about in terms of use going forward?
No change. Telegram's not private, never has been. Assume that everything that you send on there is visible, well, is obviously visible to people that run Telegram. Assume that he might bend the knee and hand all that information off. It's not a private messenger.
Mm-hmm.
If you want encrypted comms, use something like SimpleX or Signal. But it is quite amusing to see, oh, I'm deleting Telegram, blah, blah, blah. Like, pay attention. You should have known for a long, long time now that this never has been a private messenger. It's just, unfortunately, the place where a lot of Bitcoin groups tend to congregate, which, you know, is good because it has great features, and, you know, I understand why, but from a privacy perspective, it's terrible.
Agreed.
Next on the list, I've featured this one. I could have featured 10 of these, but I'd featured one just to kind of raise a red flag once again as to this sort of specific situation. But 5 Russians have been arrested in crypto abduction case. Phuket police in Thailand have arrested 5 Russian men accused of abducting a Belarusian couple on the resort island and forcing them to transfer 31 million baht worth of cryptocurrency before releasing them, worth about $1 million, $900,000 at the current prices. So not specific to Bitcoin, but just another timely reminder, because I've seen maybe 5 or 6 of these in the past couple of weeks alone, where, you know, known cryptocurrency influencers or people who are known to be in and around the crypto space have been abducted, some with deathly consequences. Not only they're losing their funds, but they're losing their lives. So the reason I included this is just to kind of remind people that the less people know that you have Bitcoin, the better. So just be really, really careful out there, guys. It's not just happening in, you know, countries like Thailand and Russia and stuff. It's happening in the West as well. So please be careful. And, you know, if in doubt, just don't say anything.
Yeah, just highlights what you have been banging on about forever since we met.
Yep.
It's like privacy matters. These tools that we talk about matter. And it's not because you're trying to hide and do corrupt things and that you're a bad person. It's because, I don't know, maybe you'd like to live and keep what you've worked for, and that there are bad people out there and you want to protect yourself and your family.
Yeah, absolutely. What else we got? Mutiny Wallet is shutting down at the end of the year. They've had a fairly short run. They've not been kind of incorporated for all that long, but there's a news release that Mutiny Wallet is going to be phased out over the next couple of months with a final cutoff date of the end of the year. Any users wishing to continue using the wallet will need to self-host it. So I know node implementations like Start9, etc., have the ability to self-host your Mutiny Wallet. So if you like the UI and you like how it works, then you can continue to use it, but you won't be able to use the kind of default backend and stuff like that. I believe the company as a whole is not folding their... Yeah, here we go. We've gone back to the drawing board and taken into account what we've built successfully and what we've not. Consumer-facing applications in a very technically challenging environment with a very small team and resources are not for us. Our focus is on building tools and services for our needs and for others. So it sounds like it's not kind of curtains for the company. It's just that they're pivoting to something else, which remains to be seen. Wish them the best of luck. I like the guys at Mutiny. They built a great product. The UI was wonderful. So once again, we keep harping on about it, but the beauty of open source, I believe, I'll need to double check that, but I believe they open sourced all their code. So, you know, if you did like it and you want to continue maintaining it, then feel free to fork it. I think that's it for the Roman Sterlingov case. The US government the prosecution is going after a 30-year sentence for Roman Sterlingov.
Fucking hell.
I believe there's been no kind of concrete. This is just like what they want the sentencing to be. I don't think it's actually been passed down just yet. But yeah, they're going for 30 years, which, you know, for somebody of his age is basically the rest of his useful life, which once again is horrible and, you know, not nice to see.
It is incredibly fucked up, and just a pattern that we're seeing all over the place. But it seems like Europe is a hotspot at the moment for massive overreach, censorship, and just all-round cuntiness. So, not good to see.
Yeah, well, he's been sentenced in the US, but yeah, I agree with your comments about Europe as well, especially with the France thing and Telegram and Pavel Durov. So seems to be all over, which is not great, especially with who's our PM now, him and all his goons.
I don't even know. I genuinely just fucking...
Yeah, can't remember. Anyway, fuck him.
Okay, on to Boost then, mate.
Let's do it.
Should we start with the non-fountain boosts?
Yes, sir.
Big Black Coffee, Podverse, Testu 1370 sats.
I like that he's migrated from black coffee to big black coffee.
Yeah.
Wonder whether
Nice
he's
name.
let himself go a little bit.
I don't know.
Who knows?
Chad Farrow, Albi Hub, 22,222 sats, row of ducks. Oh, I assume that's like a little... was that the...
I don't know, because I just copy pasted from what Jordan sent in Telegram, so I don't know whether that's just him fucking with you or whether it's a glitch or what.
That's probably him fucking with me. Row of ducks. Thank you guys so much for reading the boosts from all the PC 2.0 apps. The social features in Fountain are great, but Podverse, Podcast Guru, and Castomatic iOS are also worth checking out. Thank you, Chad Farrow. He contributes to every show. He sends some incredible boosts. He is always streaming sats, and he is always a couple of steps ahead with all of this stuff. So we appreciate you, mate. Thank you for all your support and help and advice on the Podcasting 2.0 stuff.
Yeah, much appreciated. Speaking of consistent support, over to the Fountain boosts. Slutette once again, top of the contribution list with 106,102 sats.
Whoa.
Boost, which says, seduced by Nosta, ? Who is she and what's this bitch got that I don't? Speaking of which, have you downloaded a Nosta client yet? I'm going to hold your feet to the fire on this one.
I've downloaded many Nosta clients over the last sort of like year and a half, but I always just give up. I've got Damus on my phone. I've got Primal on my phone. They were both shit the last time I used them. I got pissed off and stopped using them. So I haven't delved back in again yet, is the truth. But yes, I have 2 Nosta clients on my phone currently.
Okay, well, I look forward to reading your notes when you finally start posting. In fact, I look forward to boosting your notes once you finally start posting.
Oh, there's an incentive.
Or noting, should I say. Speaking of Nosta, just a quick tangent from the boosts, I discovered a new client yesterday called, and again, I'm going to butcher this, but it's called Yaki Hon. I think it's built by a, again, I'm going to get in trouble for this. I think it's built by a Japanese developer.
Sounds like it.
Very feature-packed, which is great for a more experienced Nosta user, I guess, like myself, who's been on it a little bit of time. I would guess that for somebody who's new to it, it probably could be quite overwhelming. So if you're kind of just dipping your toes into Nosta, maybe stick with the likes of Damus or Amethyst if you're on Android. But if you're more experienced and you like the Nosta, check out that Yaki Hon. Lots of features, and the UI is the best one I've ever used so far.
If you were to be seduced by Nosta and you were to be a total fucking retard, what would be the option you would go for?
Are we talking, mobile client or desktop? Because they're very different.
I would say mobile.
Mobile, probably, although I'm not the biggest fan of it, Primal is good. It's got a good UI. It's very simple. It gives you like follow suggestions and stuff. I believe that's cross-platform. I'm almost certain it is. Outside of that, Damus and which is iOS only, and Amethyst, which is Android only, are all excellent. Amethyst is still my daily driver. I love it. I just don't know. I haven't done the onboarding of it for like over a year because obviously, I'm an existing user, but I have done the onboarding on Primal and it is pretty good.
Okay. I'll check it out.
User 85445985 boosted with 101,000 sats. No, sorry, 101,010 sats.
Wow.
First time boosting for a while. Please tell me you're joining Noster. Let's fucking go. Well, thank you for your very, very, very generous boost. That's awesome. As you've just heard, Max is going to try out Primal as soon as we get off this call, and I look forward to hearing his reports on the show in 2 weeks' time.
Pies. Boyaka, boyaka. I'm ungovernable, mofos. Another hundo for my homies. Hopefully, yous two get both of them. Thank you, Pies. Another incredible contributor to all the shows. We appreciate you, mate. And your pull-ups as well. Can do many, many pull-ups.
Definitely. And Charlie Munger, if you're listening or watching, take note. Look at these baller boosts. Mr. I refuse to listen to this episode, mainly because I don't Noster, but also because at #Slatet boosted more than me. Stay ungovernable. And that was a 99,999 sat boost, which again, incredibly generous. But Mr. looks like if you don't want to be knocked off the top spot, you're going to have to up your game because #Slatet is bringing the fire at the moment.
Yeah, I did see, though, in our recent episode, me and John were talking about little trust fund bitches and how we don't really appreciate their boosts as much as proper working men like Pies. And she did actually respond. She has admitted that it is daddy's money. And I don't know who daddy is, but it's daddy's money. We still appreciate you there, #Letter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Late Stage Hoddle with 33,133 sats. No message, but we appreciate the boost, mate. Thank you very much. Another one who consistently supporting the show.
Mm-hmm. I feel like we could have like a Boost Hall of Fame or something like that on the website because I want to give back to these people because these are non-trivial amounts of sats that are regularly coming in to support the show.
It's genuinely making a massive, massive difference. So we really do appreciate it. It means a lot.
At high hash rate with 25,000 sat boost, Noster is the way.
And John, this fucking guy.
Here he is again.
The SimpleX impression is getting much better, far less Borat-y. Well, thank you, mate. I appreciate that coming from you. You're very
Practice
skilled.
Makes perfect.
Yeah.
I hope we've got a boost from SimpleX. Rod Palmer Hoddle, Noster seduced me. 20,000 sat boost, thank you, sir. Yeah, me too, and soon to be Max as well.
Untrustworthy bloke, that Rod Palmer. Richard Greaser, another untrustworthy bloke, but very credentialed, and that's what really matters. Great episode, you funny talkers. Max, you can lose weight by blasting fags. Don't even need to work out. I made sure to uninstall Signal from my typewriter. Thanks, fellas.
There you go, mate. Cancel that gym membership and just get yourself 20 L&Bs.
Yeah, perfect. Blasting fags. I assume he's talking about uninstalling Signal from his typewriter from our last show then, because we were talking about the desktop issue.
Ah, yes. See, we do provide value.
Exactly. Thank you, Greaser.
At Fundamentals, 10,000 sats. Met this person in Nashville. It was great to meet them in person. With 10,000 sats, you know the guy who asked about mortgaging his house to buy Bitcoin already did it. Hope he didn't have to sell his wife's organs to avoid being liquidated.
Oh, shit, yeah. Wasn't good timing, that advice, was it?
Yeah, it was like, hypothetically, I'm asking for a friend, but what do you think about this?
Yeah. 8 Mithrandir, 7,777 sats. Sovereign Bitcoiners Telegram is my Noster.
Don't spend much time in there. I am a member, but it's just the chat's way too fast for me to keep up with.
There is a lot. I occasionally dip in and sometimes there's some good content, but it's a lot to keep up with.
At Bon, with 4,321 sats, Noster seduces all eventually. Yep. And again, Max is soon to fall down that rabbit hole.
Maybe. Wartime, 3,333 sats. Free Samurai.
Co-sign that message.
Yeah.
Jen Everett, 3,333 sats. Noster is so overrated.
Here he is.
Arguable.
You might be right, mate. You might be right.
I just believe it hasn't met its full potential yet, that's all.
Okay. So you're a proper Noster enjoyer.
I like to have it as an option.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably the fairest assumption. I'm glad we have it, but the whole kind of Twitter clone type thing, I've said this before on the podcast, like that's not the killer use case for me. We just haven't seen the killer use case yet. It's going to be, take your social graph wherever you want, be that something like eBay, something like Twitter, something like anywhere where, a meetup thing, anywhere where having instant access to your social graph is beneficial. For me at the moment, that's the killer use case, not just, an alternative echo chamber to Twitter.
Yeah, that bit makes sense. Rev Hoddle, join me the first South Bend, maybe Indianapolis, IN, Bitcoin meetup, Thursday, September the 5th at 6:30 p.m. Eastern at Lang Lab. Hang out, talk Bitcoin, meet local plebs, and be merry. If you haven't attended the local Bitcoin meetup yet, you are missing out. It's the best way to build your Meshtadel and gain the most utility from your Bitcoin. Well, if you are in that area or close enough to stop by, I suggest it. Rev Hoddle, great guy, another supporter of the show, and I'm sure that'll be great fun.
Agreed. Pies is back with another 1,000 sats. He just said, bloody hell, mate. American flag, British flag, beers, cigarette, mushroom, peace sign.
Brother Abel, another great show, my brothers. I love Brother Abel. Always has such nice positive messages. Thank you, mate. Thank you, brother.
Pies is back with 420 sats. Use didn't get the whole 100,000 exclamation mark. And I think he's had a couple of coffees because we've got 4 more comments by him.
Yeah, he likes this.
All with 420 sats. I love ZEUS, my favourite Lightning wallet by far. +1 to that. Max, you lazy cunt. Get on Noster and get back to working out.
I have done. Not the Noster bit, but the working out I've started, mate.
Non-compliant, ... This is the way.
And TYM, no message, 375 sats. The Bird, the something. Pretty solid episode. Thank you,
so
mate.
they've had a free shout out there because that wasn't a boost.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
What
so
was
this
that?
is a product of the new version of Fountain where it's all of the social stuff is over Noster. So if you look at the Fountain list, it doesn't have any sats next to it.
Yeah.
So what's happened is they all get anybody that mentions this episode, it shows as a comment underneath. So the Bird has said this is a pretty solid episode, and then linked to last month's show.
Okay, all right. More than pretty solid, though, the Bird. Fucking exceptional, I think is probably what we'd say, but we appreciate it nonetheless.
And Carter did the same a little bit further up, you'll see as well. He said, check out the latest episode of Ungovernable Misfits with Max Bit by Bit and at Q&A. When are you going to shake off the Bit by Bit moniker, by the way?
I don't know. I don't know that I want to be just Max.
At Cher. Or
I don't
at
know.
Madonna.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes they'll go with Max Triple B. I don't know. Yeah, I could consider changing it. It doesn't really make sense anymore.
It does help distinguish you from Mr. Tannehill, though.
Yeah.
Which was a great episode, by the way. You should go back and listen to that one.
We sound sort of fairly similar, but he obviously says much smarter things with his voice. So I don't want there to be that confusion, especially for him. Can you imagine? He'd be like, fucking hell, that is definitely not what I said. No, I didn't say anything that retarded. No, that's the other Max. No, I don't want to be associated with that fucking retard. I don't know. I'll think on it.
Comment below with your suggestions for Max's new name.
Yeah, you know what they're going to be.
Larger boosts will be considered heavily. Okay, mate. Updates and releases. Start with the Foundation stuff, because obviously I'm biased. Envoy version 1.8.2 was released just last night. Main headlines here, we've added the New Zealand didgeridoo dollar to the list of currencies. I've just realised that could be very offensive, so I apologise to any Kiwis
That's okay.
listening.
Don't worry about it. We're an offensive show.
general visual and user experience refinements across the board. So lots of like very minor UI polishes that most people, unless you're really, really anal like myself and our QA team, probably wouldn't have even noticed. And then the main one is you can now populate your Envoy mobile seed using a seed QR that you could pull from anywhere that you've got a seed QR. Obviously, Passport is able to export them from our key manager functionality. So you can have, you can give Envoy a seed without having to manually back that up because it's a child key produced by the key manager on your Passport as well. So
Makes sense.
Bringing them both together a little bit more closely and, helping users not need to do additional backups if they choose not to use our magic backup functionality.
Before you move on, I have a bit of news / update / be careful. A couple of times now, this is not an Envoy problem. It seems to be a general problem with Signal. If I've used Envoy to copy an address to get paid and I send it via Signal, it inserts a dash or a hyphen randomly halfway through the string of numbers and letters. So that happened to me the other day, a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, oh, fuck. And I saw it and was like, oh, that's not very good. I'll send them a QR instead. I did a screenshot of the QR, sent that, and then said, I'll take the dash out. And then someone going the other way who I needed to pay sent me via Signal, not using Envoy, using a different wallet. They sent me an address. Theirs had a dash in it. And I said, fuck, mate, you got a dash here, like in the thing. If I'd have just copied and pasted this would have been a real problem. So just a warning to people, if you are, for any reason, sending addresses that you're copying from any wallet and you're sending them on Signal, you might have a fucking problem. And I don't know why.
That's interesting. I've never heard of that before or seen that before. I'm almost certain it's going to be a Signal problem. I've just sent you an address on Signal. Does that come with a dash in it or not?
Yes.
Really?
Yep.
Interesting, because I don't see it with a dash.
Yeah, you won't see it on your side. This is the real issue. Now I'm going to copy and paste what you sent me and send it back. Do you see the dash now?
Nope.
So I see it on... Let me do a screenshot, right? And now I'm going to send you this screenshot.
This is great audio, by the way. We like to take the listeners on a journey. This could be useful, though.
Well, it's serious.
Well, yeah, just while you're doing that, like, although... okay. Are you on an iPhone?
I am on an iPhone.
It's probably that iPhone bullshit, because I don't see it on my Pixel.
It happened to me on my other NIM phone as well, which is not an iPhone.
Interesting. Okay.
And the other person who sent to me, I don't think they were using iPhone last time. But, regardless, half the people who listen to this will be using iPhone, even if they don't admit it. So
yeah.
It is a major fucking issue, because if that is copy and pasted and then someone tries to send Bitcoin, it's gone.
Well, no. I was going to say this. No. It would just fail.
Would it?
Yeah. There's error correction built into Betch32 addresses. Like if you pasted that into Spiral and tried to send it, would just say it's not a valid address. You're not going to lose any funds.
Interesting, because here's a problem then for any of you Monero people. For the first time ever, I lost funds. This is the first time it's ever happened to me. I don't know how, especially when I manually type out addresses and all the retarded stuff I do. But anyway, I went to send some Monero the other day. I don't know how, because I copy and pasted the address in, but somehow I sent to just a dash, nothing else. I sent a payment, and it was a decent amount. Like, it was like $100 worth.
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh.
Well, you shouldn't laugh, because $100 was fucking spewing. So I sent
Still
that.
spewing.
And then I said to the other person, have you received that yet? They're like, nope. I'm like, oh, that's fucking weird. Well, I'm sure it'll come through in a minute. An hour later, you got that yet? No. I'm like, oh. So I check on my wallet. Well, it's showing confirmed in lots of blocks. Like, it obviously has gone. Just check again. Like, you're synced. Yeah, I'm synced. It's not there. So then I look at it a bit more closely, and the send to address is literally just a dash, nothing else. And it's gone. So I've lost that Monero. So that doesn't have an error correction built into it. And so Seth, if you're listening, or any of you Monero type people, that might be worth looking into if it can be done.
Yeah, sending out the Seth for privacy bat signal there, because that sounds pretty weird.
Yeah.
Serves you right for fraternizing with a shitcoin.
I know, mate. Well, it was
I'm
requested that
joking,
they
by
were
the
paid
way,
that way.
before people go, oh, yeah, you're right. Back to the list. New release from Team Foundation. We have announced a new product offering that we're testing the waters with called Vault Concierge. So currently we have a concierge service that is essentially you can kind of add to your cart when you purchase a passport or purchase it separately afterwards, which is essentially a 1 hour call with myself to help you onboard to passport, get you set up, get you backed up, and then get you connected to Envoy so that you can practice some transactions. So if you don't feel confident in doing that on your own, we've had a long-running service where you can basically just hop on a call with me and I'll kind of guide you through all of those steps. We've now expanded that to a multi-sig offering where we've bundled in 3 passports and a 2 hour call with myself so that you can set up a 2 of 3 multi-sig vault in either Sparrow, Blue Wallet, or Nunchuk, completely your choice. And essentially works exactly the same way. We'll get your devices set up, we'll get them backed up. But instead of doing a single signature setup with Envoy, we will opt to, or you can choose between any of those 3 compatible coordinators to set up a 2 or 3 vault. And I'll, once again, guide you through that process, hold your hand, and make sure that you have crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's, because multi-sig, is a bit more difficult. There's a lot more moving parts and there's a lot more things to consider. So you can feel free to get your hands on that bundle, and I'll be there on hand to help you get that set up.
What do you charge for that?
That's $6.99, which also includes 3 devices, which is very, very reasonable if you ask me.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, cool thing about this is we had a couple of questions on like how does this compare to Casa or Unchained, etc.
Mm-hmm.
This is very much a front-loaded service where you get the devices, you get the guided setup, and then you get priority email support thereafter. Foundation learns nothing about your setup. We don't see your UTXOs. We don't hold a key for you. We cannot help you rotate a key out with one that we control, etc. It's not a collaborative custody service. It's a case of here's all the parts that you need, and here's 2 hours of guidance for you to get all set up, and then we'll be on hand via priority email thereafter for any questions. It's very much a sovereign setup where you are in full control of all of the keys. We can't do anything to assist if you lose all of your keys or if you lose a couple of your keys, etc.
And no leak of privacy.
Yeah, and obviously, that's great from a privacy perspective because we intentionally learn absolutely zero about your setup. We don't know where your funds are. We don't know how much funds you have, etc. Again, it was all intentional because we don't like holding any or knowing about our customers.
Mm-hmm. That's very nice because, that's the big issue that I have with a lot of these other services. It's like you have to, as a general rule, KYC with them, and they're also generally they're holding a key, and it's kind of like, I get it, it's useful in certain scenarios, but there is a big trade-off there. Whereas this is like you can get all of the good stuff that you get from a multi-sig, but also you make sure that you tick every single box that you need to tick, and you don't fuck yourself doing something stupid, because it is harder. As you said, there's more to consider and there's more that could potentially go wrong. You don't want to do that, trying to make sure that you're more secure and more safe from $5 wrench attacks or whatever, but then actually end up shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah, exactly. And one final thing that I failed to spell out in terms of the differences is obviously there's no ongoing subscriptions. This is a one-time fee. So you don't have to pay, $120 or, depending on the plan you choose, a couple of $1,000s a year just to maintain that ongoing support. Because again, it's apples and oranges. It's unfair for me to say there's no subscription because, with the subscription services, you're paying for them to hold the key and be there on hand. Like, we're not offering that yet.
Okay.
So if you want to learn more, foundation.xyz/vault-concierge, or just head to the homepage of the website and click on Vault Concierge.
Can I just ask one more question on that before we move on?
Fire away.
You might not be able to answer this. It might be an individual thing, but when you're doing backups, are you doing that on micro SD rather than on steel, or are you giving people the option of both? And if you are giving the option of both, is it something where you would do a bundle and send out the stamping kits and that kind of stuff? Because I assume some people would want to do that.
Is this for the seeds you're talking about of each device?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, so we ship with a paper card with each device so that you can just write them down. Obviously, that's not, a long-term robust solution. Yeah. We default also to an encrypted backup of every device. but we don't ship with any steel backups, but we do advise people to, go ahead and purchase those separately. We do have some irons in the fire on being able to bundle that with a well-known product, which hopefully will come to fruition later this year. But at present, users will need to buy their own separate steel backups.
Yeah, that would make sense. And I'm sure, as you said, you're already working on that.
We certainly are.
Okay, cool.
Very excited about that one. So yeah, check it out. Hot off the press, Mempool open source project version 3 is now available.
Ooh.
Obviously, everybody knows Mempool and knows that you can self-host it on your Umbrella Start 9, MyNode, Raspiblitz, Ronin Dojo, etc. So version 3 is now available to be implemented by all of those projects. So before long, depending on, again, the project, how fast they are to implement it, you'll have all of the version 3 feature sets, which include the Mempool Accelerator, which we spoke about the release of last month, which is where you can pay an additional fee via Lightning to speed up your transaction if you are unable or didn't flag for RBF. Second feature is Mempool Goggles. So this is where you can kind of filter what's in the mempool to see whether there's a heavy amount of consolidations or coin joins or data containing transactions in the mempool to see what's making up the current kind of Bitcoin queue of transactions, if you like. And the final one is full RBF timelines. So if a transaction has been kind of boosted or sped up or been replaced multiple times, you can kind of see the history of that, and the mempool guys do a great job of visualizing that. So that's now coming to the self-hosted version as well. So keep an eye on your chosen node package for the Mempool update, because this will be a significant quality of life improvement and very good to see.
Ooh, very nice.
Proton, as in Proton Mail, have launched their own Bitcoin wallet. Came out of left field for me. I didn't see this coming at all, if I'm being honest with you. It was very a very big shock to me. Great to see. They're obviously privacy focused. They have encrypted drive, emails, etc. So having a censorship resistant form of payment integrated within that is a great option to have. Have not tested this yet. I've only going off screenshots and comments from other people that have. Looks fairly rudimentary at the moment. The main kind of headline feature, obviously Proton is predominantly an email service. You can now send Bitcoin from your Proton wallet to another Proton user just by their email. Again, getting more towards the, I guess, call it the normie kind of friendly ways of sending and receiving Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But, would I want to tie my Bitcoin balances to my Proton email address? For me, probably not. But I'm sure there's people out there that will find benefit in this. And, Proton has a huge user base, so exposing them to self-custody Bitcoin is only a positive for me, and I'm very, very happy to see this. And I'm sure they've already got quite a long roadmap. They're planning on coin control, etc., own node connection. And what else have they got? There was also rumors, somebody did a bit of sleuthing in their GitHub. They also had plans to implement a Whirlpool CoinJoin implementation, which obviously would be fucking wonderful. Yeah. But Seth had Andy, their CEO, on Opt Out podcast, and he clarified that obviously that's kind of legacy where they were planning it, but with the current regulatory landscape and everything that's going on with the Samurai case, they've pulled that for the time being to see kind of what goes on there.
I listened to that podcast. I said you're basically not listened to any for a long time, but that was the one that I did listen to on a drive the other day. It was really good. I actually thought he came across really well, like very open about what their plans were and why they're not doing certain things and what they're looking to do in the future and all that kind of stuff. And I thought, it might not be something that I would use or you would use at this stage, but to have Proton on board and starting to work on a Bitcoin wallet is pretty exciting to me, regardless of whether I would personally use it yet or not. Like, just the fact that they care enough to start is good.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just poking around. You can hear me clicking to see if I've got access to it yet, but looks like I still do not. So hopefully next couple of weeks I'll get the access and we'll be able to give some proper feedback and test it out. Okay, next on the list we have our favorite hybrid Lightning wallet, Phoenix, Android version 2.3.6. They have fixed some issues with parsing BIP353 addresses. So the reason I've included this one is that should, all being well, make it compatible with all other Bolt 12 offers. So if you self-host your own CLN node and you have a Bolt 12 offer in there, upon first release, Phoenix was not able to scan those or to parse them properly so that you could pay from Phoenix to max@ungovernablemisfits.com. It looks like that has now been fixed, so we now have the compatibility that we see fit, and Phoenix users should be able to pay other Bolt 12 users that are not on Phoenix, which is obviously a good thing. StackDuo have released version 2.1.4, where they've got desktop QR code scanning, connection fixes, and lots of other bug fixes in there as well. Nothing to stand out. Oh, fixed pain in bug where sending was failed, so that's a good one to see. Raspiblitz, we haven't featured them on the show for a while, so it's good to see this one get an update. Version 1.11.1, Web UI setup and recovery redesign. So version 1.11.1 was released with a new web UI setup process. We also have, what else is new? Various different software updates. They've added label base, which is kind of a hub for all of your labels that you can sync from things like Sparrow, which is good to see. They've also removed some of the dead software like Sphinx Relay, etc. So yeah, good to see that the Raspiblitz long-standing project is still getting updated. ZEUS version 0.9 has now been publicly released. I feel like this is a huge release, by the way. It's been featured in the last 2 months worth of monthly shows in various different betas, alphas, and release candidates. Well, the main release is now out. The headlines are there's a new LSP service where you can purchase channels in advance from the Olympus LSP or any other LSP that you want to plug in. Hardware wallet device and signing device support. So again, we covered this at length, but you can now connect your passport or SeedSigner, etc., so that you can open and close channels to and from cold storage, which is huge. Bolt 12 offers, again, we've covered that at length. You can also get your own 12.cash username, which is now a paid service, I believe, so that you can have like max at 12.cash, which resolves to your Bolt 12 offer. So just a bit easier to kind of remember and use than the long string of letters and numbers that the typical Bolt 12 reusable offer constitutes. New camera functionality, huge layout improvements, and they've also got a pending HTLC, hash time lock contract view as well, so you can see if you've got any stuck or pending payments that could be causing you headaches.
Nice.
Massive, massive, massive release. Happy to have been testing this for months, and it's pretty stable at the moment, and I'm very happy to see them get this one out the door. Once again, hats off to Evan and the rest of the team.
Yeah, I have to say, it makes me hate Lightning a lot less when I'm using it.
Yeah, absolutely. They've also, the guys at ZEUS have also announced a couple of Olympus, their LSP integrations with other services as well. So it's good to see that infrastructure being built out. So you can now connect to the Olympus LSP via Albi Hub and Mutiny Wallet. And there was one other, I think that could be it, just Albi and Mutiny. Oh, lightning.pub, which is kind of a bit of a fringe Lightning / Nostr powered application. Pretty new at the moment, but they've also implemented with the Olympus LSP. So good to see that being built out, because obviously that's a good revenue stream for the ZEUS team to help them fund and continue funding their development. BitAxe version 2.1.10 has been released. Loads of basically optimizations included here and support for the new Supra version. This was quickly released after 2.1.9, which I believe was causing lots of issues on many, many devices. There was a lot of bugs in the 2.1.9 release, so hats off to everybody involved in that, getting the 2.1.10 out of the door, because I was reading on Discord there was quite a lot of people having some headaches, so maybe a lesson to be learned there, that maybe don't upgrade your BitAxe as soon as you see that release, especially if you want to continue hashing. Let the bleeding edge people kind of test it out for you. CakeWallet have released 4.19.3 with just various wallet enhancements, Monero synchronization improvements, improved wallet backups, and better error handling.
I have a question on CakeWallet. You've used it a bit more than me. I set one up the other day, started playing around with it, and I thought, I'll set up a Bitcoin wallet on there as well. I couldn't see an option when I was generating a seed to have a passphrase. And the same with Monero, I couldn't see a way to do a passphrase. Is that me missing something, or is that a feature they don't yet have?
Good question. Honest answer is I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe Seth, if you're listening to this, you're well positioned to answer that question for us in the comments.
Yeah, let us know. Outside of that, though, I used it a bit, and yeah, very good. Loads of features, easy to use, clean layout as long as you don't choose the default. Yeah, very, very nice.
Seth assures me that that's top of his list, by the way. When he left Foundation, I said, you better make sure that that's job number one when you start.
Yeah. Yeah, I went for like a very dark blue and black option, and it's quite nice, actually.
Yeah, I'm a typical Bitcoin bro. Mine's black and orange.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did play around with that.
Yeah, I'm just poking around now. I don't think you can create a new wallet with a passphrase, but if you're restoring one,
import one.
You can. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, new release. There's now a Robosats alert bot for SimpleX. The TLDR here is that you can connect to the bot, give it your parameters of whether you want to buy, sell in euros, pounds, yen, etc. at a specific percentage above or below the market rate. And the bot will monitor the order books and give you a ping when it finds one that fits your bill, basically. And you can go ahead and take that offer, and it'll give you a direct link, Tor onion link to the order, so you can just tap it, open up Robosats and take the offer. So taking a bit more of the guesswork or a bit more of the manual steps out of trying to find a purchase that suits your needs on Robosats. So very cool. I thought that was pretty nice to see it implemented on SimpleX as well, instead of Telegram, where most of these bots are usually implemented. Bisq version 2.1.0 has been released, and it brings support for the Lightning Network as an additional Bitcoin settlement method. They've also added a QR code scanner, upgraded the chats, and improved the startup time for Tor. Very cool to see them implement Lightning. Obviously, that opens the doors for lower value purchases, which is great for people that are starting out, especially when the chain fees get a bit ridiculous, which thankfully they're not at the moment. I haven't tested this one out, but I will certainly be giving it a whirl now that they've got Lightning support, and it's easy to test out with $10, $20 worth just to see how things look. Blue Wallet version 7.0 has been released. Bit47 payment codes are now available to everyone, so it's no longer hidden. They've actually got it under a nice little toggle so that you don't have to tap a hidden button 25 times to be able to see all the Bit47 stuff. And in a previous release, they've also done the full functionality so that you can now send and receive it as well. Very cool to see. Once again, hats off to the Blue Wallet guys. Oh, and they've also added, they're now up to 7.0.2, which has got some fixes included, and also it adds a total balance in the overview screen, which I presume is a total balance of all of your wallets, because for those that don't know, Blue will allow you to have many different wallets in there. So a lot of people like to see how big their stash is across all of their wallets, which you can now do in Blue, which is pretty cool.
Or small.
Or small, yeah, especially if you just quit your fiat job and you've got to sell some. Mostro version 0.12.4 has been released. I won't go into the details, but I just wanted to highlight that this is a thing that people should pay attention to and keep an eye on. Mostro is a peer-to-peer marketplace that runs over Lightning and the Nostr network, so aiming to be a little bit more resilient than something like some centralized services, should I say. It's taken a different approach, whereas Bisq is like client-side software. Mostro is kind of a singular website, but it's all of the offers, etc., live on the Nostr network, so it's slightly more decentralized than something like HODL, where you've just got a centralized kind of order book that could fairly easily be taken down because it's centralized. Mm-hmm. Very early days at the moment. I've never done a trade on there. It is still being built out, but I just wanted to highlight it because I think it's a cool project with a bit of promise, and hope to see it do well. More BitAxe news. The BitAxe Gamma, which is the 5th major revision, the schematics have been released, and I'm sure the products are soon to follow, which uses the BM1370 ASIC chip from the Antminer S21 Pro. What this means is the new ones, when they're released, will have at least 1 terahash each. So we're getting into the big rigs now, mate.
Big time.
SeedSigner version 0.8 has been released. They've also dubbed this the low time preference release. Highlights, we have BIP44 legacy formatting. They have BIP45 legacy multi-sig compatibility as well. And then loads of different quality of life improvements like new animated QR code scanning, much better animated QR progress estimations. So I think previously when I've used it, it would kind of rush up to like 99% and then carry on scanning for another like couple of seconds or maybe 10 seconds, depending on how big the transaction is. Looks like they've changed the calculation now so you get a much better accurate percentage of completion, which is kind of important, especially if you're scanning like a large multi-sig transaction where there's a lot of data being passed back and forth. Much better rendering of animated QR codes, which equals faster reads by wallet software like Sparrow on your desktop. UX improvements when entering BIP39 passphrases, verifying multi-sig change, etc. And just general all-round polishing. Oh, interesting. They've also added support for importing Electrum seeds. So this could be pretty useful if you have like a legacy Electrum wallet from back in the day where it's for those that don't know, Electrum doesn't default to BIP39 seeds. So the only place until now or main place that you could enter that Electrum seed to manage your funds is Electrum. You can now do that within SeedSigner as well. So if you had a legacy wallet with an Electrum seed and you wanted to kind of migrate that to a new BIP39 seed or wallet, then you can use SeedSigner to do that. Very cool.
Very nice.
Fountain version 1.1 has been released, which I alluded to earlier, has got all of the social aspect of the application now runs over the Nostr network, whether you know it or not. So they've basically updated the app so that any likes, reposts, etc., you essentially have a Nostr feed within the Fountain app where you can find, share, and discover different podcasts, which is cool. I've been testing the beta version of this for probably over a month now. A lot more polished, and Oscar has done some great work with his team to get this out there, and feeling very bullish on this now because you can connect your existing Nostr profile, share your boost and comments on Nostr. As I said, it's got the new home feed. I just like the fact that it's now integrated with your social graph so that you can learn about new shows, see what people are liking, see what people are sharing, see what people are boosting, etc. And I've personally found, I think I said this last time, I've personally found at least 4 or 5 new podcasts via this very method of seeing somebody else send 50,000 sats to a certain podcast, and that surfaces it to the top of like the Fountain trending feed, and I'm like, oh, that looks interesting. Somebody's willing to send them 50,000 sats. Maybe I'll give that one a listen, and from there I subscribe as well. So obviously we can benefit from that when people do the same to the Ungovernable shows. So very happy to see this, and it's becoming a pretty powerful app. So if you're listening to this on something other than Fountain, maybe give it a go. What's also very cool, I gave a bit of praise to Oscar and the team behind Foundation, very receptive to feedback, one of which I gave as part of the beta testing was that Fountain is a closed source app, which is fine. That's his business decision. It's not necessarily a Bitcoin application. It's got a wallet within there that you can choose to use if you want to. So it does touch Bitcoin, which Bitcoin and closed source is not ideal for me. But obviously if you see that as a risk, just don't use the wallet side of things. But I said to him, look, it's a closed source app. I can't verify what's going on, and nobody else can. I don't really want to be putting my Nostr NSEC into this application, and I really want to shill the app, but I can't in good faith do that widely because I would never advise anybody to put their NSEC into a closed source application. And he has, as part of this 1.1 release, added support for Android external signers. So I don't know whether we covered this on the show before, but there's a couple of applications, my favorite being Amber, which is a very simple open source application that you can download from GitHub and verify and paste your NSEC into it. And what it does is it holds your Nostr private key essentially, and then you can sign into various applications like Fountain, but use that separate application as kind of the custodian of your keys. And then whenever I do any interactions on Fountain, Amber, the application, just pops up and says, hey, I've seen you want to send this boost, or I've seen you want to like this comment. Are you happy for me to sign it with the keys?
Okay. So
you can separate that so that I can benefit from all the awesome features of Fountain, but I don't have to put my NSEC into a closed source application. And that kind of back and forth between Amber and Fountain, where I do any interaction, sounds like it could be quite burdensome, but you can set it with different levels of trust as well. So you can say to Amber, when I'm in Fountain and I like a post, just do it automatically for me. I don't need you to pop up. Just authorize it in the background so that you don't have to flip back and to. And based on how little or how much you want to kind of just automate the process, you can do a lot of it in the background as well. So it's nowhere near as cumbersome as perhaps I've made it sound.
Interesting. Yeah, that's quite cool because that's always a issue of mine. It's like, yeah, you can take this NSEC anywhere you want and you own the data, but it's like it's always worried me a bit, especially when I'm so used to like dealing with private keys and Bitcoin stuff. It's like sharing that everywhere to do stuff feels weird, but that sounds like quite a nice solution for it.
Yeah, it's great. I don't know whether there's an iOS alternative. If anybody knows of one, please let us know in the comments.
Okay.
Last on the list, Fully Noded, a little known iOS wallet that's been around for quite a long time and maybe doesn't get the recognition it deserves, has released a iOS native JoinMarket client within the wallet itself. So Fully Noded works predominantly by being like a remote control app for your Bitcoin node, connects over the RPC interface predominantly, and then you can manage all of your wallets and add specific accounts from there. They have now released a JoinMarket client as well. So I've got no idea how well this works. Obviously, it's working on mobile and talking over RPC to your wallet. So I don't know whether it's going to be kind of as slick as, a desktop client speaking over the Electrum server kind of interface to your node that's on the same sort of network, etc. But yeah, definitely a very cool initiative, and we need more CoinJoin solutions like this, and especially mobile ones. So yeah, this is really good to see, and I'll try and carve out some time to give this one a go. That's it for the list, mate. Before we hit any questions, do you have any comments or anything that you wanted to cover off list-wise?
I don't think so, mate. I think we covered everything there. Yeah, let's jump into the questions.
Yeah, so I didn't do much shilling in advance, so we have a pretty light question list, just two really, although one of them is kind of a comment that I'm going to take a bit of a cop out, so I'll hit that one first. Carter XMR asked us to cover Monero's FCMP. I don't even know what that stands for. I think it's something like full chain Merkle proof, maybe something like that. I think what he's getting at is that there is a network upgrade coming to Monero where instead of each transaction being your output being one of a potential 16, I believe, it's one of any output on the network ever.
Yes. Seth covered this in the show I did with him
there you
3
go.
or 4 episodes ago.
So go back and listen to that.
But also in the tweet, I then said maybe we can get Seth on one of our shows, and he has confirmed he's up for that. So I think maybe in the next couple of shows we get Seth on for a little bit to discuss this.
I'm definitely not the man to go into detail on that one. And then final question at FastLion21 on Twitter asks the best hardware wallets for a 2 or 3 multi-vendor, multi-sig. I get asked this question quite a lot. I'm going to give a bit of a cop-out answer and then explain it afterwards. The best ones are the ones that you're most comfortable using. Now, obviously, I can't answer that for you, Fastline, because, you might be a super tech nerd that wants to build their own hardware wallet and, wants to use a SeedSigner. Cool, go for it. Or you might be somebody fairly new to the space but recognizes the benefits of multi-sig and wants a really premium feeling hardware wallet that is super simple to use, then go for a Passport. And there's all types of trade-offs in between those two as well. Obviously, I'm not going to list them all off here. If I was having my feet held to the fire and I had to pick 3 different devices to be included, obviously I would use Passport as one. I would use a SeedSigner as the second. What else would I use? Probably use the Jade as the third signer because I like QR-based stuff and it's relatively inexpensive and I've got a good bit of experience with it. I actually have a video, a multi-sig video on the Foundation YouTube channel that is me using, I think, those exact 3, SeedSigner, Jade, and Passport in a 2 or 3 setup. So if you want to see what that looks like, head to the Foundation YouTube. But if I was pushed for it, I'd probably use those 3. But yeah, it's ultimately it's whatever you're comfortable with. And again, I'm going to come back with the boring comment around multi-sig is whatever your spouses are comfortable using as well. Like you might be proficient with the horrible menu system on a cold card. Great. But is your wife going to be able to figure that out? Probably not.
Are there any phone options that could be used as part of that multi-sig that would be acceptable in terms of like privacy and security? Because that's also an option for like QR based stuff. If you're using a separate phone or something like that, it could be quite nice.
Yeah, I think you can do something like that in Nunchuk and Blue Wallet, where you mean having, so let's say I would have...
So you had a passport and a SeedSigner and a phone. They're your three effectively hardware wallets, but you obviously need to run some software on that phone.
Yeah, I believe there's two ways you can do that. There's number one, the obvious one, where passport, SeedSigner, and then a phone that holds a seed, and then you'd have a separate phone or client that coordinates it all.
Yeah. With
it being the seed on the phone, it would need to be a specific coordinator. Like you'd probably have to do that within Blue Wallet or something like that. You wouldn't be able to do that in Sparrow because you wouldn't be able to use the phone key to sign on Sparrow on your computer. The other way you could do it is where you have passport, you have SeedSigner, and then you have Blue Wallet as the coordinator, and it holds one of the keys on that same phone as well. Obviously, slightly less secure, but that could be seen as a benefit because it means you just need one of your hardware wallets or access to one of your hardware wallets to get that second signature to sign off on stuff.
I quite like that as an option. I think phones, if I'm looking at the different hardware, I agree. I like the trade-off balance of like a passport and a SeedSigner. I don't know what else I would go for. I like the QR stuff as well. So a phone seems like, you have graphene on a phone, you'd be running something like Blue Wallet and you use that as one of the keys. That's kind of quite a nice trade-off. And also it's kind of stealth in a way. It's like, everyone has a drawer full of old phones. When someone sees, especially as time passes and potentially more people get involved in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, it's like more and more people are probably going to be able to see a signing device and go, oh, I kind of know what that is. Whereas like a phone is a phone is a phone. They all look fucking exactly the same. No matter what model you have, it's just like a big piece of glass that's black and it's sat in a drawer.
Yeah, absolutely. And the cool thing about that type of approach is that we're moving into a world with Miniscript and Taproot, etc., where you could have that setup where it's like a 2 or 3 multi-sig with 2 hardware wallets and a hotkey on Blue Wallet, let's say. But you could have it where that same wallet, you could spend X amount of funds just using one key. And then if you want to spend a larger amount of funds, then you need a secondary signature from one of the hardware wallets. You could have like a hybrid approach where you've got the best of both worlds, easy access spending up to a predefined limit, and then everything else is much more secure. So once again, we're early and we just got to wait for the clever people to figure that sort of shit out for us.
Is that the whole list then, mate?
That's the whole list, mate. Yeah, very excited about the new kind of feel to the show, the new name, which is
2 retards, 1 cup. 2 retards, 1 pod.
Pending the 10 million sat boost, yeah. But for now, until we get that, the name is
The Bitcoin Brief.
The Bitcoin Brief, brought to you by Ungovernable Misfits.
Very nice. All right, mate. Well, we will catch up, not in a month, but in 2 weeks. I want to say a big thank you to everyone who's been boosting and supporting the show and sharing it with friends and family and growing Ungovernable Misfits. This is going to be a new chapter and I'm very, very excited about it.
Yeah, get involved, comment, boost, like, share. Let's help us take it to the next level. Very, very excited. I'll see you in 2 weeks, mate.
Maybe I don't really want to know how your garden grows, 'cause I just want to fly. Lately, did you ever feel the pain in the morning rain as it soaks you to the bone? Maybe I just wanna fly, wanna live but don't wanna die. Maybe I just wanna breathe, maybe I just don't believe. Maybe you're the same as me, we see things I'll never see. You and I are gonna live forever. I said maybe I don't really wanna know how you got it wrong. I just wanna fly.